Ukrainian lands, at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, an ancient bridge. For centuries, armies marched through these lands, peoples migrated, civilizations were established and fell. Today, Ukraine is not only a modern state, but also the owner of a multi-layered heritage that extends to the depths of history. The question we will ask in this documentary is, where do the origins of Ukrainians trace back to? In 5,500 BC, one of Europe's most advanced Neolithic cultures emerged on today's Ukrainian lands, the Tripolye or Tripolye culture. Giant villages where thousands of people lived, pottery decorated with spiral ornaments, and early agricultural communities. Some settlements were even larger than the biggest European cities of the period. Ukrainian historians view this culture as one of the oldest layers of national origin. However, scientists accept Tripolye as part of a broader European Neolithic culture. In 3000 BC, a new culture took shape in the steppes, Yamnaya. The pioneers of nomadic animal husbandry, communities that domesticated the horse and developed war chariots. Yamnaya holds special importance for linguists because many researchers argue that the place where Indo-European languages were born, that is, hundreds of languages spoken in Europe and India today, could be the Black Sea steppes. Ukraine was not only a geographical, but also a linguistic crossroads. From the 9th century BC onwards, a new people dominated the Ukrainian steppes, the Scythians. This nomadic society, famous for its mounted warriors, kurgan burials, and gold work, established contact with the Persians and Greek city-states. So who were the Scythians? Most historians accept them as a people speaking Iranian languages. However, this is where debates begin. Ukrainian researcher Valentin Stechuk suggests that the Scythians and their successors, the Alans, might be connected to Kurdish peoples. According to him, some place names in Ukraine show similarities with Kurdish. This claim is not widely accepted in the scientific world, but it is interesting as an alternative hypothesis. What is certain is this: the Scythians left a strong mark on Ukrainian lands and established cultural contact with subsequent peoples. After the Scythians, the Sarmatians entered the scene. They also spoke Iranian languages and dominated the vast steppes. The tribes called Alans left traces not only in the Ukrainian steppes, but also in Western Europe. The origins of some place names are still attributed to them. During this process, Ukraine was a buffer zone between the Roman Empire and the steppe peoples. After the Goths and Huns shook the region in the 4th and 5th centuries, East Slavic tribes gradually came to the fore: Polians, Drevlians, Severians. In the 9th century, the Varangians of Viking origin controlled trade routes along the Dnieper River and established the first great state with Kiev as its center, Kyivan Rus. In 988, Prince Vladimir accepted Christianity. This was not only a religious but also a cultural transformation. Linguistically, while early East Slavic dialects were spoken among the people, Old Church Slavonic was used in the church. During this period, Ukrainian, Russian, and Belarusian had not yet diverged, but different dialectal foundations began to be laid. The legacy of Kyivan Rus is still controversial today. For Ukrainians, this is the beginning of their own state traditions. The Russian historical narrative, however, views this as the cradle of the Russian nation. With the arrival of the Mongols in the 13th century, Kiev was destroyed. Ukrainian lands came under the influence of the Golden Horde in the east and Poland-Lithuania in the west. This division would shape Ukrainian identity for centuries. In the 16th and 17th centuries, the Dnieper Cossacks entered the historical stage as free warrior communities. They fought against both the Ottomans and Poland, establishing a semi-independent order they called the Hetmanate. However, with the 1654 Treaty of Pereyaslav, they became attached to the Tsardom of Moscow. This became one of the greatest breaks in Ukraine's quest for independence. From the 19th century onwards, Ukrainian national consciousness strengthened. In the 20th century, wars, the Soviet period, and finally the Declaration of Independence in 1991. Today, Ukraine is still at the center of great power conflicts of interest. But the deep history of these lands shows us this. Ukrainians are not only a Slavic nation, but also the heirs of many cultures, from Iranian nomads to Byzantium, from Vikings to Mongols. Their origins cannot be reduced to a single point. This rich, multi-layered past is the strongest foundation of modern Ukrainian identity. In the 21st century, Ukraine stands at the center of the world agenda, not only with its historical heritage, but also with its wealth and strategic position. From electric vehicles to military technologies, from digital revolution to energy security. Everything the modern world needs is hidden in these lands. So how did this situation make Ukraine the target of global powers? What are the real reasons behind the war that began on February 24th, 2022? With the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, Ukraine gained its independence. However, this independence left the country trapped between two major power blocs, the European Union and NATO in the west, and the Russian Federation in the east. 2014 became the year this balance was disrupted. First, the annexation of Crimea by Russia, then the support of separatist movements in Donbass. Ukraine-Russia relations reached a breaking point. On the morning of February 24, 2022, Russia launched a large-scale invasion of Ukraine. This was not just a regional conflict, but a breaking point for the global order. Explaining this war solely through political reasons would be misleading, because Ukraine possesses the most valuable resources of the modern world: iron ore, manganese, titanium, and most importantly, lithium. These minerals are the lifeblood of future technologies. They are used in everything from electric car batteries to smartphones, from defense industry to space technology. Ukraine is Europe's richest country in terms of lithium. Is this a coincidence, or is it one of the real reasons for the war? Ukraine is a global power, not only in terms of minerals, but also agriculture. 12% of world wheat exports and 16% of corn exports come from here. These lands, which are Europe's granary, affect the food security of millions of people in Africa and Asia. With the start of the war, global food prices showed increases of up to 30%. This shows that controlling Ukraine means global, not just regional power. Another dimension of Ukraine's strategic importance is energy lines. Important pipelines carrying Russia's natural gas to Europe pass through this country. This situation makes Ukraine indispensable in terms of energy security. At the same time, it plays a critical role in both Russia's and Europe's energy policies. After the war, Europe underwent a major transformation to break its dependence on Russian gas. So who benefited from this transformation? From the Russian perspective, the reasons for this war appear different. For Moscow, NATO's eastward expansion is a direct security threat. Ukraine's NATO membership means the deployment of a hostile military alliance on Russia's western border. Moreover, Ukraine is at the heart of the geography that Russia historically considers its sphere of influence. The desire to regain the influence lost after the collapse of the Soviet Union was decisive in Russia's move. Of course, there are also economic interests. Energy routes and mineral resources in Ukraine are of strategic importance to Russia. With the arrival of the Mongols in the 13th century, Kiev was destroyed. Ukrainian lands came under the influence of the Golden Horde in the east and Poland-Lithuania in the west. This division would shape Ukrainian identity for centuries. In the 16th and 17th centuries, the Dnieper Cossacks entered the historical stage as free warrior communities. They fought against both the Ottomans and Poland, establishing a semi-independent order they called the Hetmanate. However, with the 1654 Treaty of Pereyaslav, they became attached to the Tsardom of Moscow. This became one of the greatest breaks in Ukraine's quest for independence. However, according to some experts, there are bigger calculations behind this war. First theory, this is actually part of US-China competition, neutralizing China's most important ally by weakening Russia. Second theory, the struggle for lithium and rare elements, which are the key to future technologies. Ukraine's resources could be decisive in the electric vehicle revolution. Third theory, this is the beginning of the 21st century's Cold War, the first step of returning to a bipolar world. The effects of the Ukraine war were not limited to the warring countries. Food crisis affects Africa, energy crisis affects Europe, technology race affects the whole world. Global supply chains are being reshaped. We are in a period where new balances are being established in every field, from military technology to diplomatic alliances, from energy policies to trade routes. Ukraine has been the intersection of civilizations throughout history. From Scythians to Slavs, from Mongols to Cossacks, many peoples have left their mark on these lands. Today, it is at the center of the greatest geopolitical struggle of the 21st century. This is not just Ukraine's destiny, but also decisive for the future of the global order. But this war has brought immense human cost. Thousands of people have lost their lives in this conflict. Hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians have been forced to migrate, seeking safety far from their homeland. The Donbass region has effectively become a territory dependent on Russia, with local populations receiving Russian passports. Meanwhile, the majority of Ukrainian refugees have fled to Europe, where European countries have shown special attention and support, effectively ensuring a form of division of Ukraine. This demographic shift represents not just a temporary displacement, but potentially a permanent reconfiguration of Ukrainian society. Families separated by war, communities scattered across continents, a nation's future hanging in the balance between East and West. Whatever the end of the war, Ukraine's strategic importance will continue, because these lands have everything the modern world needs: energy, food, technology, and most importantly, the critical position between East and West. The Ukraine question is actually a symbol of the 21st century's global power struggle. But beyond geopolitics, it is ultimately about human lives, families torn apart, and a people's determination to preserve their identity despite being pulled in different directions by great powers.